Lightning round number 2 in this format. We'll open up over here to the left. Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan, I don't know how well you know Luke, but he's took over the program and really is doing something like a 180 philosophy. You didn't really do that. Is it because you didn't think you had to? And how big of a challenge do you think that would be doing what you've done?
Just two very, very different situations. And there's pluses and minuses to both. I think when you go into a situation, you try to identify what things you want to continue and things that you want to start fresh with. And both have their advantages, both have their challenges. But he's obviously done a great job everywhere he's been.
Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Ryan, there are weeks where you say if you guys had a great week of practice, there are weeks and don't say that you had a bad week of practice, but when you have a week like this where you come up with an emotional win, how do you know that your guys are locked in, or are there signs from practice and things that you can tell?
Yeah, it's a little bit of an eye test. You just see the focus, you see the energy level, you just watch it, the execution, you see it in practice. You can't overreact one way or the other. You have to continue to be consistent, but that's what we did. That was the message that we just had coming off the field. I thought it was a solid week of practice. But if you want to be a championship level team, you have to bring it every single week, and that means battling every week the ability to be consistent. Not start to cut corners. That's kind of the human element. It's like, well, let me see if I can get away with not having this meal, or going to bed a little bit later, or maybe not doing this much film work, or whatever those things are. And if we want to get to where we need to be, we have to be consistent. And we know this is going to be a big challenge. We know it's going to be rocking there. They have a very good team. They're well coached. So we have to play our best football. And our goal is to play our best football at the end of the season. And we've got to show up and play consistent football the way that, I think we have this year. We have been building. We have been growing. But certainly, if we're a championship level team like we expect to be, then we got to play really good football, and we want to play our best football on Saturday night. This isn't just like, let's go try to win a game. Like, we got to play our best football that we played all season, and in all three phases.
Over here, Tim May on 3, Letterman Road, and we've got Kenyatta Jackson on the north 20.
Yeah, Ryan, is there sense right now after this practice that you're going to have a full complement of players on Saturday, and how much does that help your planning, for one of another way of putting it?
Got a bunch of guys back, which is great. When you say full, there'll still be some different things here and there, but no, it certainly does help. And it's hard when you go through a week and you're not quite sure, because you put things in, you take things out. But we feel like we've had a good week of practice. We're going to get some guys back this week, which we feel great about. And it has been a solid week of practice coming off the field. So the pads are off here. Going to have a great Thursday. But looking forward to getting some guys back into the fold.
Austin Ward, Rivals the podcast.
It feels like the way you've talked about Marvin, maybe mostly after the game on Saturday, was intentional. He was left off some midseason All-American teams. I know that you don't necessarily care about that, but have you felt like he is not getting the attention outside of the Woody that he might deserve?
I don't know what he's getting for attention, honestly. I don't, because every minute we have, we're trying to grind and work. But I just know what I've seen. If there's a better player in the country, or receiver, certainly receiver in the country, I'd like to know who he is. And I'm sure there's an argument out there. Everyone wants to defend their guys, but and I don't sit there and usually brag on our players. But when you see a guy put the work in that he has and produce the way that he has, he deserves to be in the mix for Heisman. I just believe that. I'm sure people would argue with that, but pretty hard to argue with what he's put on the field so far this year. So, they don't give out awards, in week 7 or 8. They give them out at the end of the year. There's a lot of work to be done, but, I know he should be in consideration.
Kellyanne Stitz, WSYX.
Coach, just for clarification, did Denzel Trey and Emeka practice today?
I don't, once I start getting into who practice, who doesn't, it's hard for me. But those guys have all, had good weeks, and, we're expecting those guys to be available for sure.
Any other questions here? Over here, Cameron Teague Robinson, The Athletic.
Brian, Tyreek has mentioned a big part of his production this year has been his growth and focus. From where he got to freshman year to now, how much have you seen his maturation process grow, and how much did that help on the field?
Well, we were talking about it coming off the field last Thursday, was that when, I think I've told the story before, but on our way to the spring game, his freshman year. He's like, man, I can't wait to go to the game. We were on the bus going over. I said, what do you mean? He said, I've never seen the stadium before. You know, when we recruited him, it was during COVID. And so these guys didn't play a lot of football. He really didn't play much, you know, his last couple of years. So, you know, those guys were a little bit behind in their maturation process. But he came in right away. You could see the athleticism, you could see the ability, and he's really embraced, you know, what we're doing here. And you're seeing him play his best football right now. Again, I still think he's got room to grow, and he's a big part of our defense, and going to be a big part of the next month, you know, if we're going to reach our goals.
And we're going to have last question, Doug Lamery, Kings of Columbus.
Ryan, Camp Randall gets a little nuts there. Like, when you're going to a place like that, what's the biggest effect potentially on the football? Is it just like hearing your calls on offense? Is there emotion involved in it? Like, how can it affect you?
Yeah, all of the above. And I think when you haven't done it before, it certainly is different. We have been in those environments. Our guys have been in those environments, but it doesn't mean it's easy. It's hard. You know, communicating on offense, you know, you just naturally feel the ebb and flows of the game, and that's part of it. I think the more you play, the more veteran you are, the less effect it has, but it's still always hard to go on the road and win games. And this is a place that I haven't played before, but I've heard so many people talk about the difficulty that it is, and the great fans that are there, and you know, we know it's going to be that way, and that's what makes Big Ten football great.
Coach, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.